American exceptionalism?
Yeah.
It just recorded that.
Who did?
My stream.
Oh, my bad.
It's fine.
Ooh, what's up? What's wrong with him? Houston. Are you streaming?
Yeah, it's already on.
My bad.
It's fine.
Lou, stop.
I haven't really started yet.
Is anyone watching?
No, because I think I just started. But they might see it on the replay, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Lou, cut it out.
So hi chat, I'm just gonna give everybody a few more minutes before I start. I'll just go to the deck list, I guess, for right now. So I'm gonna run back the same list I played in the previous league that I 5-0'd with. It's not too different than what I played or what's on my Discord channel, but I only have one crop rotation. I'm running the fourth ley line now, just because I think it's that strong. Also, I played the showcase on Sunday, and this slot here, the Cabal Pit, was a Assassin's Trophy. And even though Assassin's Trophy is a better card, I think if I'm gonna... One second. I need to mute myself. There you go. Even though Assassin's Trophy is a better card, the whole reason to play the split in the first place is because of Meddling Mage out of Esperval. And if that's the reason, I think you want to hedge it so you can find it easier, because I lost a match against Esperval on Sunday because I was 40 cards deep and still hadn't found it. And then at any point, if I were to have found it, I would have won. I'm gonna probably start pretty soon, but are there any questions the chat wants to ask me before we start? And feel free to give me any kind of feedback or criticism. I don't mind. Oh, thanks, Prodigy Jal. My wife is trying to sneak a peek here, but you can't see her in the window. She's just laughing at me. But I'll just go, since we're still waiting for people. Maybe I'll just go over the list. Everything's pretty. Ooh, with combo dropping, would you ever drop Archon? Okay, so here's my dog now, and that's my wife. No, I don't think so. I think Archon is just too good, even without combo. One of the matchups I really like Archon in is against Rug Delver, or just Delver in general. Even though they have an answer to it now in Oko, I just think it does too much, and a lot of times the minute you slam Archon, it's game over. Especially now with a single Shepherd to protect it occasionally. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it does too much against the artifact decks. It does. It's really good against combo and really good against Delver in general. I don't think I played it for almost one. Actually, whatever Deathrite was banned, but since then I've been playing Archon, and I've never registered a list with natural order without it. So the main deck Silver Bullets Bajuka Bog, which has been a staple ever since Breach. I liked it at a time, and it was so good that I've kept it, even though Breach is banned, has been banned for a while now. I'm not playing the Savannah. I don't think it's needed because unless you're on Deafening Silence, you can actually get away without it. And the higher fetch density is important for Reclaimer, important for fetching out Arbor for Natural Order. Also, in a pinch, Cavern Souls can be white for Archon. Uh, Collector Oof, I tried playing two Shepherds. I just think Oof gives you another angle of attack against any Mystic Forge deck or any Echo deck, so I think it's worth a slot, at least in the main deck. Um, the big silver bullet that's missing is Scavenging Ooze, and while it's very good against Delver, I don't think you need it. The life gain is kind of nice, but it's too slow against the graveyard decks. And Reclaimer just kind of does what Ooze does now. Granted, not immediately. Yeah, Shaman of the pack. I think if you're playing a list without natural order, Shaman's important because you want to be able to kill the same turn. Occasionally, there's things like Glacial Chasm, Ensnaring Bridge, which the natural order version can beat with Archon, and Moat. But so Shaman can beat those kind of things. Or out of Esperval, probably the biggest thing is Peacekeeper. So I think it's good if you are if you run similar to something Jack Kendall ran for a challenge I think 1 week ago. He ran a chaos list with four shaman. Oh wait, it's not enough. Four shepherds and one shaman as his win condition. So it's good there, but unless you're playing chaos version, I wouldn't run it. Um, yeah, if you're afraid of things like Peacekeeper, I'd rather just uh, take care of it with a Cabal Pit, or if Glacial Chasm is popular, you can burn Wasteland the sideboard, but I think Wasteland's kind of slow. So yeah, any questions about this list? It's pretty stock, I think. The only thing is, yeah, I'm playing the Pit now because out of respect for Esper Eval. Yeah, I don't really like this card, but I think it's a necessary evil at the moment. Okay, I'm just gonna start. What about just see the thing about grinding with Shaman, I don't really think it's great because in most cases you just want to draw cards. Um, if there's like a Leovold or Narset out, I think there's even better versions. Disregard. Okay. Maybe I don't understand the question. What do you want me to disregard? And I apologize in advance. I'm not great at multitasking, which is why I don't normally stream, but I'll do my best. And again, I don't mind constructive criticism. What's up, Tim? Like I promised, I told you I'll stream tonight. Yeah, my intention was originally to stream on yesterday, but then I talked it with my wife, and I think Tuesday is best, anyways. What up, Nathan? How's it going? I just talked about your list actually. Well, I mentioned earlier ago that Shepherd is better when you have Nettle Sentinel. I think this is a keep. It's a little awkward, but I don't like to mull hands. I don't really know what Michael Keller's playing. He's usually on some kind of combo deck. Oops. How do you get the... There you go. Yeah, so Nathan, in case many of you guys don't know, top aided a legacy challenge I think 2 weeks ago with combo oriented Elves list. So shout out to him. Also, he's recently top 5-0 with he recently 5-0'd also with the what is it called? The mono blue Delver deck, which actually I think has a good matchup against Elves because Gutshot's very good in the matchup. So he's helping and hurting Elves at the same time. So typically, this matchup is kind of a race. I can't really interact with what they do, unfortunately. At least not game one. If they're on the veteran explorer version, sorry, not the academy rector version, the ley lines sideboard are pretty good. Yeah, I think in this match you just want to race, especially game one when I can't really interact with them and they can put very scary things into play. So they're on the green sun version. That's fine. So at some point we want to stick a natural order. Fetches are important because they represent arbors for extra damage on the turn you natural order. So you can also pitch it because it's summoning sick anyways, and in this case it's even better with a cradle. So I want to just save it. Yeah, just play everything out. Here I don't think we want to trade. We need all the attackers we can. And then we have a natural order next turn, barring a Cabal Therapy, which there's a decent chance, I guess. So, for those who haven't played against Elves much, uh, I know Oko is a menace and to a lot of fair decks, because especially artifact-based decks like Vile decks, but it doesn't actually do much against Elves, contrary to what people think. And I know people leave it in against me, partially because maybe they don't have anything else better, but it tends to be very good if they're already ahead, but doesn't really pull them ahead if it's even or from behind, in my experience at least. And him tapping out means there's no force. That's fine. So the coast is kind of clear now. And then here, like I said, the arbor is going to come in useful because now I have extra attacker. For those curious, I have misclicked before on natural order and gotten the wrong thing. So that was pretty, you know, straightforward. I don't. Neither side really did much. It's just a straight race. Are you okay? It's my dog in the background. Uh, Here, Leyline is good. For Veteran Explorer, I think Veteran Explorer, the way it's worded, it's when it hits the graveyard, or when it dies. But let me just double check. Yeah, it dies. So I think we want the ley lines. It's also good against Cabal Therapy flashback. Oof is not very good. Archon isn't particularly good. Only because they have many ways to sweep. Archon tends to be only good, in my experience, in a 2019-2020 world. Luke, come on. 1 second, sorry. Let me see. I'm gonna mute for a second. Okay, I am a noob at this. I don't know how to mute this. Okay, I'll just hope he doesn't bark. Sorry, I apologize in advance. Luke, come on. Judy?
Lou, come here.
Okay, but Jukabog doesn't do anything here.
Come on, bud.
I don't really know. I didn't see much from their deck, so I'm just. Thoughtseizes tend to be good, in my experience, but maybe it's overkill. I tend to like it only because it stops them from putting scary stuff into play. In this matchup, I tend to like to go fast too. So down to one Visionary, one Wirewood. The rest looks fine. Yeah, Leyline for the uh, Veteran Explorer and the Cabal Therapy. I don't think there's anything else. Sometimes if I have Cabal Pit, I'll proactively bring it in against black decks because of Plague Engineer. But I don't think we want to play that kind of game against Netfit here. This is a good keep because of Leyline. And then at any moment you guys have questions, just feel free to comment. I'm trying to, you know, multitask and answer any questions you guys may have them. So he's running blue. I would guess for Brainstorm maybe Strix. It's a blind Cabal Therapy name. Might named Glimpse or Natural, I would expect. Green Sun, that's just kind of an interesting name. The reason why I say that is because in most cases, if I have a Green Sun, I would lead with it on turn one. The exception if I don't have gas. So here we can't really get good value off Glimpse, so we're setting for a turn three. That means we have to protect our Reclaimer, and then this gets an Arbor for an extra mana on turn three, because the land, you get the mana from the Arbor, and then it counts one more for Gaea's Cradle. So they might be on some kind of, I don't know, Titania type build because of Green Sun with the Zero and Orb. So their hand must be kind of slow if they're gonna just Yuri on turn three. I think what we're afraid of here is something like Pernicious Deed. But I think with Glimpse, and I don't think they have Force of Will, but I just want to go off, I think. So that's a very good draw. So here, if we lead with a land and Glimpse, we don't actually net any mana. So we want to leave the opportunity to draw into maybe another Gaea's Cradle later on, or if we can play our fetch land instead, which gets us some value. Actually, let's play this first. See what I draw. So we haven't made our land drop yet, and we have one mana with a Wirewood. Uh, I think we want to extend our glimpse here. So we're gonna Green Sun for Heritage Druid. And then just hope we have two draws and hit with one of the two glimpse draws and to keep going. So yeah, it's important to know when a Green Sun for Heritage. Uh, and a lot of that is knowing your deck too, knowing the percentage of a hit. So in this case, I knew it was pretty high because there's two, and then you just draw a lot more. So there is Progenitus. So yeah, it seemed like his hand was kind of awkward because they just conceded and the turn through was Urian. Normally in this situation, I would, because there's with a Reclaimer version, it's highly unlikely I can combo kill when I've already tapped my Gaia's Cradle. Um, so I would probably pass the turn, and what I'm looking for in this situation is try to natural order for Progenitus to hedge against a sweeper. But luckily it didn't come to that. Actually, before I start another game, any questions? I'm just curious. Like, I know I'm pretty inexperienced when it comes to this, so I don't know what you guys prefer or what the chat would like me to do. I guess I'll just join. Come on, Luke. But yeah, Leyline looked like it did a lot of work there because they couldn't therapy me, flashback therapy me, and they couldn't, ramp with their veteran explorer there too. Especially since my two forests were already in play. This is the keep. Unless the hand is just really bad, I tend to keep most hands. As long as it has lands, obviously. So here, I could lead with the Bayou if I'm afraid of Stifle, or I can play a fetch. The fact that he's on Urian is likely not gonna start. Sorry about that. I'm gonna mute for 1 second.
You want food?
Good boy, Luke. That's one way to get my dog's attention is food. So if I were to guess, based on blue fetches here, they're on some kind of snow deck. And lately, the snow decks seem to be, at least the ones I've seen be successful, incorporate some kind of combo. So whether that's a Lurin or the World Hoarder combo, we'll see. But the successful decks I've seen at least have been running those. In general, with elves, you don't want to waste mana on every turn. So I generally play into days. They don't have days, I know, but you want to be as efficient with mana as possible. So that's why I didn't play Arbor there. Although it is a little awkward now in my hand. So we have a lot of lands. I think hopefully the we draw creatures going forward. So like a Wireware Greenstone would be good right here. I think we take the Shepherd here. I don't really want to run my Visionary out, so I'll just play the Arbor and pass. The reason to hold Shepherd there too is in case you draw a Glimpse. Um,
Go ahead. Come here. Come here.
so it's interesting that they fetched before they pondered.
Sit.
Not sure what that means to be honest.
Sit.
Oh, they're on Alluring. Let me see. They fetched the yeah. So they fetched the previous turn, so they knew what was the third card down. That's probably why. But now I have to run out the natural order. Ideally, I draw a Cradle because then I can have a protected Shepherd play. Even then, I don't know if Allurin runs. Well, there's Plague Engineer. Okay. Huh. So here it's tough because if I natural order, there's a good chance that the Archon is just not going to get there because they have Ice Fang in the deck, so I might not be able to attack profitably. So I think here, instead of going for that line, especially with 4 cards left, I think we just try to draw and see what happens. Luke, come on. Play out the second Arbor here. And if they want to kill our Arbors, we can live with that. Luke, come on. Good boy. Luke, come on. Judy, can you call Luke? Yeah, so here, you bounce the Visionary. If they name the insect or arbor, you're happy with that? Okay, so they took the They took the arbors, which is actually really good for us. I'm not sure what that says about their hand, other than maybe they're just trying not to. Maybe they have the combo next turn or something. Although actually, that's not true. They would have been able to do it this turn. So here is kind of an interesting question. I think we just leave with the Visionary, see if we draw a glimpse. there's because there's only one shepherd. We can't really run it out like that too. Uh, yeah, we're still a while away from being able to hardcast this creative. Our draws have been kind of awkward, so I think we still want to buy back the visionary. If I could natural order and kill,
Go to the bathroom.
if I could natural order and kill the same turn, then I wouldn't bounce it back. And we're not under a ton of pressure, so it's fine. Um, so this represents either Ice Fang or Force Negation because they didn't they didn't use a mechanic. They didn't put Urian in their hand. So this board state is kind of similar to before, where we need mana. So I'm just gonna green sun for Heritage Druid. They might think it's Wirewood from their perspective. Um, so a play down the line that's possible for them is to Urian their Plague Engineer, but that's still quite a while away. Uh, Here we can bounce and put two more dudes into play. I think that's probably worth it. Reason being is because we're hoping to draw a Cradle here. Should be Ice Fang, I think. Intuition. Okay, that's probably means we're dead. It should be a learn, I think. Yep. So the minute they show the combo, I'll just concede. And then they're going through the necessary steps to play around whatever. Yeah, I'm just gonna see save time. I'm assuming they have the combo.
Sit. Sit.
So here I think we just want the K doesn't really do much. Like all the creatures get value. We just play this as a control deck and then live with the fact if they have the combo, they have the combo. Thoughtseize is good universally. I don't think we want Bog. Archon is kind of awkward because it's good against Allurin, but they do have STP in the deck, I would assume. And I think in most cases, we just live with them having the combo, and then I think Progeny is just better because of Plague Engineer and things like that. We saw the Cabal Pit and then four recruiters. So, sorry, we saw the Plague Engineer and the four recruiters. So I think Cabal Pit is good here. Um, there's a chance that they have a Leovold, so I think Caracas is not bad either. Well, they're on the recruiter version, so yeah, they might not have Leovold. I think, and especially 80 card deck, I don't think we need to worry about them having the. If they have the natural, we live with it, and that's generally my philosophy in general. If they have only a one or two, I just make them have it, and then Thoughtseize is pretty good for hedging against things like that too. Cradle is good typically in a combo mirror, but they're not exactly a fast combo deck. So I think we can live with cutting one because this they play more like a control deck or value deck. It's just kind of similar to us, I guess. Heritage, yeah, I think I'd rather have the entire best friends package. I think this looks good. I'm playing essentially boarding as if they're a control deck, not really caring about their combo or forcing them to have it. One of the questions I get a lot about is when do I board out Once Upon a Time? When I first tried the card in the deck, um, it was hard at the time to figure out what to board out because typically in the past there'd be some cards that were obviously weaker than others, but was Once Upon a Time removed those cards already by being in the deck, and then I would board out the Once Upon a Time because I had trouble. But I think that's kind of a trap because it'd be similar to blue decks boarding out Ponder, and I don't think that's correct. Lou, sit. So we don't have a great hand, unfortunately. But I think we can't really go down to five. In general, against these control decks, I always lead with Thoughtseize, just because information is huge. Uh, so I don't think we care about the STP. We take their cantrip, I think. Lou, are you gonna behave, buddy? My dog has the zoomies right now. So yeah, them STPing a Visionary, I'll live with that any day of the week. And I think they did that only just because they don't want to lose out on tempo, because they want to curve out STP on one, decay on two. The problem is I don't think that's particularly good against our hand. So I'm gonna lead with Thoughtseize here. That was a no-brainer decision. Because yeah, if they're removing our Visionaries, they're already down a card. And I feel pretty ahead here. And the natural order off the top would be great.
Drop it.
So here we want to lead with the wirewood because it protects the shepherd. And we can play it out and then start attacking actually. There's no, well, yeah, there's no real reason to play out the cradle here. So I'll just leave it in my hand. So they don't know about it.
Sit.
In general, I like to hold lands in my hand if it would otherwise put me help in because it conceals information. So here I'm gonna play around Kodo or Ice Smash, yeah.
Drop it. Sit.
Sure.
Drop it. Sit.
So it looks like they're digging for an answer. Here we have lethal, barring 2 removal spells. So they're, well, let me see. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana potentially. So this shows like the mid-range game of Outsourced Shepherd. So you just randomly kill people with it, and I don't. It doesn't seem like they have they might have Swords of Plowshares. I mean, Snapcaster makes into swords, but I think they would have already played it. And yeah, this is what I mean by their combo is kind of slow, similar to ours as their creature combo deck. That's more about grinding out the matchups, and that's why I don't think you need to go overboard about trying to race them. I think if you force them to have it, a good analogy I think would be like before when Miracles played Entreat the Angels. If they happen to have it, then so be it. And in this case, they still have to assemble. It's a 2-card combo in an 80-card deck. So if they have it, it's fine. So this is a pretty good hand. Judy, is Luke calm yet or no? Okay, so our hand just got a lot better with the top deck glimpse. Turn 2 glimpse is probably one of my favorite aspects of Elves because the opponent is put into a position where they don't really want to counter, especially if they tapped out and then they have to force a will get and hit themselves just to stop it. But if they don't, they can just lose the game on the spot. Even if they don't die in that turn, it's just it can potentially draw into 3, 4, or 5 cards, and that's hard to come back from. And in general, I won't reveal if I have a what land drop because it makes their decision that much tougher. So in general, you want to lead with 1 mana elves into Wirewood, and then Visionary is your weakest play because it's unless you have a heritage, it's just so mana intensive. Actually, hold on. You want to use the ranger that's already uh, used up its activation for the turn. The reason for it is because every green sun represents an untap in the future. So that was just good. Making sure I sequence correctly there. I know some people have trouble with remembering how to sequence correctly. I think the best thing you can do for that is to just develop a pattern so you recognize which without thinking it saves mental capacity during a real tournament, so you don't have to think and waste energy during the real tournament on how to sequence. So that was a really good turn. And this is what I mean. Like I drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 because the wirewoods count twice cards, and that's hard for any deck to come back from. While playing around Dead of Winter too. Oh, sorry, not, yeah, Dead of Winter because Reclaimer's a 3/4 now. So I think barring something miraculous, I think the game is probably ours because we have a protected kill. They could have removal on the stack uh, for Shepherd, but we'll see. And then force the hoof. Actually, I could have had lethal already with the which is activating Shepherd. That was a misplay on my behalf. I think here I don't think I can generate 6 mana where it's worth it. So I'll just play out my Visionaries. But I'm still pretty far ahead despite the misplay. Yeah, I think what I should have done earlier was activate the Shepherd because I had lethal on board. So now I won't miss that play this time. So 15. So the best thing they can do is plow, snap, plow. So I'll just keep everything on board and then force them to have. See how that they play around the Shepherd activating. Yeah. So that was pretty straightforward. Actually, before I start, any questions about how I played so far? I know I misplayed by not activating the Shepherd, but I think aside from that, it was pretty clean play otherwise. Um, in general, like blue decks, you want to save your fetches, but instead of for shuffle effect, it's because the fetch is good for bringing out Arbor for extra creature. It comes up a lot actually. Also, because this deck doesn't play any landlord effects, fetches being able to be arbors are good too because you're more efficient with every untap. Whereas if you untap another elf with Birchlore or Heritage, it's with Birchlore it's not as efficient. With Heritage, it's just more difficult to maneuver because you need three elves. What up, Jack? Yes, actually, I know you. If you just tuned in, I actually gave you a shout out earlier in the podcast in the stream. I said that you played the challenge with four shepherds last challenge, not this past Sunday, but the one before, and got I think 13th with it. So pioneering chaos elves. Yeah, for sure, man. Also, I didn't mention it because it was a while ago, but Jack also played an Oko Elves version a while back. I think this was a few months ago. I don't remember, but yeah, early in the stream, at the beginning of the stream, I mentioned that Jack, was playing four shepherds. I think he said that in our group chat that he likes three going forward, but I think in a reclaimer list, one makes a lot of sense at the moment. And then Jack has also played a reclaimer list. It didn't get published, but I know he played a Blood Moon version with reclaimer to a 5-0 as well. So all the Elves people are here with Jack, Nathan. We're just missing Adam, Julian, Jarvis, George. So yeah, in case anybody missed it earlier, here's my sideboard. I'm up to 4 ley lines, just because I don't like losing to graveyard decks, and especially Reanimator. They'll beat me game one, but I want Reanimator, in my opinion, tends to be one of the worst matchups that you'll likely see. Belcher is equally bad, but the problem is, or the good thing is, luckily, besides when I play, there doesn't seem to be much Belcher. Jarvis doesn't count. I think Jarvis still counts. He helped me, or at least he was one of the consultants I had before I played this showcase. And one of the things he did like about my sideboard at that time was I played two Force of Vigor, and I was already gonna play it, but I was glad he was on board with it because they were pretty big, given the meta game at the time because Zerda was one of the popular decks. Okay, so speaking of Belcher, unfortunately, this screen name is familiar enough to me because I've lost to them enough on Belcher. So hopefully they're not on that. There's not really much we can do to be honest. I would otherwise keep this hand. So we just gotta hope that they are not on Belcher today. Also, shout out to Jack. He was the first person to play Hex Drinker in Elves, by the way. Forgot to mention that earlier. Okay, so we just have to hope that they don't have like a they're not on Belcher. The reason why I'm leading with Shepherd here over Wirewood is because if you draw a Birch Lord, it makes mana on turn two. So yeah, so Lotus Petal turn one looks like they're on Belcher. Yeah, the last time I played against Steam Machine, they were on Belcher too, and I think I played against them enough during this time of day or time of night where I feel like that's a likely choice for them. They must do pretty well with it too because they haven't changed decks. That or they enjoy playing it. So if they pass the turn, this oof is really good. The problem is I don't think they're gonna pass the turn. And they should know we're on elves. So that's game right there. In my opinion, Belcher is probably the worst matchup for elves. It's not that popular, but it's almost unwinnable because you rarely win game one. They have to lose to themselves. Game two, there's a good chance you win with discard, or if you play something like Deafening Silence, you can steal game two. The problem is game three, you need to essentially mull for Leyline and hope that their hand can't beat Leyline. So multiple things need to align. It's happened, and I've done it recently actually against Belcher, but it's definitely you're still playing from behind. So unfortunately, yeah, Bog is not good against Echo decks because they they have priority. Um, I don't think I'm missing anything. Actually, crop rotation is good because it speeds up the clock. Yeah, I like crop rotation a lot in general for combo matchups because it's a fifth guy's cradle that hoses graveyard based decks and any deck that's where Caracas is relevant. Before it used to be relevant when I have Boseiju too, but as good as Boseiju is for my list and against control decks tend to not be a problem for this version because you can grind them out in general, and counter spells like eventually they run out of it, and they can't really beat. Assuming you don't aren't light on lands, Wirewood plus Visionary. Um, Typically, in my experience, the problematic matchups are fast combo like Belcher. The only fair matchup I tend to be kind of afraid of is lands. Shout out to Tim. Only because Tabernacle is miserable to play against, and they have a fast combo themselves. Yeah, I typically board out all the Visionaries and the Wirewoods against combo, only because I just want to be fast. Sometimes the Visionary and the Wirewoods are relevant in the combo matchup, but that means you're probably disrupted them somehow already, and it just so happens that the game got grindy, but typically I don't want to rely on that. So this is probably as good of a starting hand you can wish for. I just wish it had some creatures, but it's a snap keep. No problem, Tim. You're one of the best or the best lands player I know. So sometimes they aggressively mulligan for Echo L and LED to restart their hand, but that's walking into a trap here with Leyline. Yeah, it looks like that's what exactly what they're doing. So a cool thing about Tim too is I don't want to spoil it too much, but he played a 5-0 treasure hunt deck, and will be a legend in my eyes forever because of that. And he's working on a new deck, and I don't want to spoil it. That's if he can pull it off, it'll be one of the coolest 5-0 decks I've seen in quite a while, besides his own. I'm not gonna change anything. The only problem is against Belcher on the draw, and this is typically true against really fast decks like Dredge as well. Uh, this card is not nearly as good, so I kind of have to multi ley line here, and this card is just ancillary disruption. Especially if they keep something like 7, this card is not going to get there. They may know I'm on leyline too. I don't know what the perception is of elves at the moment, but I think most players. Yeah, we just won game 2, Jack. They molded 2 and conceded, but our hand was very good too, so I don't think they would have beaten that hand anyways. We kept a double ley line with Thoughtseize hand, and so this is probably as good as we can hope for. Collector Oof would be nice or Natural Order, but that's a snap keep. And we just hope that they can't that they kept the hand based on Echo. I've actually lost to Belcher too with Leyline, because they either don't care because they have a hand that's not relying on an Echo, or they reverence Silence via Burning Wish for it. And that might be the case here. We'll see. So at least the 2 mocks. Okay, so I think they have Burning Wish. So that's kind of interesting. They might have gone for an empty line, which would be awkward for us actually. That would be pretty good for them. Yeah, that's what it looks like what they're doing. So now we have to try to race, and Thoughtseize is kind of awkward now. I don't think we need to draw a Natural Order. I think that's the only route to victory. So we can survive 1 attack, but I think this is a loss. Jeez. So they're probably gonna get Goblin War Strike. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I don't think there's a way we can kill here. If we had, I know a, a card that some Elves players like to play is the Elder Scale Worm. I think it's pretty narrow, but and even here, I don't think we can't even generate 4 mana for Natural Order, so it would not matter. Yeah, it's so that does happen to me from time to time where for whatever reason I think all three Belcher players like to play around 9 o'clock Pacific time because I run into Belcher I think probably more frequently than most players, and it's a bad matchup, but you just accept it. Just because in general you shouldn't be running into that often. Ooh, Tom. This is a very bad matchup because Tom should be on turbo depths, and just Tom is just a very good player in general. We This is not a great six, unfortunately. The problem is the earliest we can glimpse is three, and we probably can't even kill. So I think I'm assuming Tom is on turbo depth, so I'm just gonna go to five. This is better because at least we can top deck a natural order. Here I would lead with, because I'm assuming they have discard but not removal. The most relevant creature I would say here is Birchlore Rangers. The reason being is because if they we have Cradle for enough mana for natural order anyways. So Jack asked, why do I like Reclaimer over Nettle? That's a very loaded question because I know Jack's a big fan of Nettle. Uh, I guess the diplomatic way to say it is I think Reclaimer helps the bad matchups more. So here the duress would have hit the glimpse anyways, and you have three wire, which is pretty bad. Yeah, so I think Reclaimer has more game against specific graveyard based combos. This matchup is relevant because of Caracas. Um, Let me see what else. It tends to be very good against Rug Delver or just Delver in general. I also like Reclaimer against Control if Control were popular because of Boseiju, and just the Bog is actually a lot more relevant in fair matchups than most people realize. So here, I can start bashing next turn for 15 with Allosaurus Shepherd, and I think that gives us the best clock because if you cycle this for Visionary, you might draw a blank. The other thing about Reclaimer is I think while Nettle makes it easier, I think you don't actually need it to combo off. Although that does mean you have to pass the turn every so often when you haven't tapped your Cradle yet. I think if I want to be fair, Nettle is better in the mirror. I would definitely give that because both sides can't really interact with each other, so you just want to be faster. Nettle tends to be better in my experience um, when there isn't much disruption. So Goldfish decks like Belcher, Nettle is better. Um, Let me see. Game one against combo where the graveyard isn't relevant, Nettle tends to be better. So it's not like I think Reclaimer is always better because it's not. Okay, so here I think yeah, I'm gonna try to draw into natural order. So we'll see how that actually cancel. I think the most mana we can make is That might be a decay. Ooh, stifle. So he's on his signature bugs variant, which is kind of good that we didn't try to hoof it because so we have a kill next turn, bar removal. Does that answer your question, by the way, Jack? Hopefully, I wasn't too harsh. Okay, so yeah, this is one of the rare instances where Shepherd is actually better as a win con because it requires less mana up front. Hoof would have been awkward with that stifle. So it was worth it not to force the reclaimer to block and swing for 20. I'm not sure I understand your question. Uh, I think we only have 4 creatures on board. I think I would rather go for the kill there because I don't want them to untap. Because we had the kill the following turn regardless. I don't think the reclaimer matters if it has to block. Yeah. Yeah. Only because the game was decided the following turn, regardless of whether reclaimer lived or not. Um, I like Thoughtseize in the matchup. It's not particularly great, but it does answer some of their answers, and I think you still want to be fast. Collector Oof is very high variance, and unless I feel that far behind, I don't think we need it. Yeah, I don't think the match was, especially the bug variant, which is a little slower. Yeah, so it would have been for 20 damage, but they could block one, so it's not lethal. And I would rather try to visionary into a natural order for lethal that turn, instead of giving them another turn, because it was lethal in the falling turn regardless. And I don't think them keeping the reclaimer really does anything. Lou, sorry. Lou, good boy. Lou, come on. Lou. Okay, my dog is wants attention right now. Hand's not great, but it does have discard. It does have reclaimer. Um, I don't. I think here we want to be destructive as possible, and we don't have a land drop, so it might be a while before we can glimpse. So I'm gonna toss that. Actually, Wirewood's kind of bad too, so I think that's the take. I think it's dangerous to lead with Green Sun on one in a combo mirror. I know not everybody agrees with that, but I personally don't like doing it, even if that means I slow myself down to turn. When it's Green Sun versus or Mandork versus Thoughtseize or Cabal Therapy. Okay, I think my dog calmed down a little bit. Hmm. So he doesn't have green. Uh, if he top decks a black source, that's a problem. I don't think we're trying to. Well, he could leave out the Fluster Storm for the second Thought Seize. I think it's dangerous here not to take the Hex Mage. Yeah, I thought about taking the Brainstorm, but there's a chance he fizzles, and looks like that's what happened. I just didn't want to die to top deck land Black Source, and then he has Hex Mage and Depths turn 3 because my clock is incredibly slow. So that went well, and I got lucky to be honest. I think if he had played it out, there's a chance he gets back into the game because like I said, my clock is not incredibly fast, but um, it's funny you say that, Jack, because a lot of people think I actually play Fearless because uh, a lot of times against. So this is one of my little tricks that I do against graveyard based decks. They know I have Leyline a lot of times, but I'll keep a discard hand only because you a lot of times your opponent will just mold to anti Leyline hate, and then you're playing right into their hands if you keep uh, molding as well to Leyline. So I think I just keep hands that are otherwise playable and see if and a lot of times it can get the job done. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna go and give my dog a snack because he is a little crazy right now. I'll be back in like a minute or two. Sorry about that. Look, okay. Luke, come on. Good boy, Luke. All right, I'm back. Yeah, exactly. They get it a lot of times. Against Reanimator, um, yeah, Thoughtseize can get there, or even Reclaimer can get there on the play. Uh, Actually, let me get some water real quick. Good boy. But the way I see it, Reanimator players are signing up for non-games anyway, so If they want the game to be determined by your initial starting seven or whatever it is, then the best way to beat them is like that. Good boy, Lou. What's up? How's it going? Hey, Doug. This is my second stream. My first one, unfortunately, being the novice that I am, I didn't realize that it doesn't auto save by default, and it didn't save, and unfortunately, people weren't able to view it after the fact. One second, let me cancel this. So my matchup so far, against Michael Keller. Let me see. What was he? Oh, he was on Nitfit. Beat Trot was on Yorion Alurin. Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, it's not Douglas. The loss was to Belcher, and then Tom was on Stifle Bug, one Stifle Bug Depths. Yeah, so Jack mentioned something I was alluding to earlier. I like to slow roll my leyline hands as well because, especially if I haven't played them before, it only works a few times before they catch on. But if I have a hand with leyline, and sometimes I'll just take a while, and then down. They will keep a fast combo hand because they think, oh, I'm showing weakness because I took a while, but it's quite the opposite. But again, that only happens so many times, and I think they'll eventually figure it out. And then the word I've seen is I saw in one of the discords that because I mentioned that's one of the tricks I like to pull off. Graveyard players and are now kind of aware of it. Yeah, Tom usually beats me actually. I only got lucky against him right now because if he were on Turbo Depths, I think the matchup is very difficult because Reclaimer is generally not fast enough. Also, Tom is just a really good player in general, so it's hard. That's a twofold, right? Like trying to beat a bad matchup against a very good player. The loss was to Belcher, but I think that matchup's like unwinnable. I said earlier that to beat to beat Belcher, you generally lose game one, win game two, and then game three you have to get lucky off leyline. I don't know what they're on, but this hand is not that great, so I'm just gonna mulligan again. I don't, because if I play Dryad Arb and they remove it, you lose the game on the spot. I don't really want to go fun. Let's try it. Okay, blue. The hedging play here would play Cradle turn one and then Arbor turn two, but I think we just hope they don't have the removal. Yeah, see, Jack wants me to be fearless, so this is playing fearless here. I kept the hand. I didn't play the chicken way of playing Guy's Cradle first too. And they have a okay, so they're on Dredge. Lou, okay. I apologize if your eardrums are shot right now for my dog. He is extra needy right now. Dog's an Australian Shepherd. So here, oh nice, good, sounds good, Doug. So Chet has an Australian Shepherd too.
Is he crazy like ours.
So here I think we just want as much mana as possible. So I'm just gonna play out everything. Yeah, that's a good point by Jack. You can hedge and not leave with Arbor there, and then catch up with the Green Sun. We rolled the dice and played quick, and then we got rewarded because they didn't have removal. I think they're probably named Natural Order here, based on the way I play, because that's what kills them. Uh, so we have Bog online game next turn if they don't do anything too crazy here. And they have a couple of dredgers, but I think we'll probably be afraid of LED and a Faithless Looting. Yeah, so they named Natural Order as I would too from their perspective. Typically, if you're on the opposing side of Elves, you name Natural Order if they have a board. If they seem to be playing slowly, Glimpse is probably the correct name. But that's just like very generic advice. Uh, some people, it might not work against some people. Uh, Allosaurus Shepherd has been really good. So I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that I'm only playing one because I think in a reclaimer list, you just want the one to tutor for. It doesn't solve the problems of the deck, in my opinion, which is fast combo. Most Green Sun decks tend to be weak against fast combo, and Elves is no different there. Uh, I do want the one because it's good against Chalice, and then I think in a traditional build with Nettle Sentinel, I know Nathan played 3, Jack played 4. So it's a lot better there because you're just trying to go as fast as possible. But in a reclaimer list, as much as I want the second and third copy, I think 1 is the correct number in the reclaimer list. So Jack's saying stop giving away the secrets. So I am giving away some of the trade secrets for Elves right now, but I think Jack will forgive me. They may flash back the therapy here because they don't want to die to create a hoof. Yeah. The thing is, we still have Bog online, so they're kind of behind. So, I think here I want to play both Visionaries. The problem with leading it on Arbor is that forces me into tapping the Cradle anyways, and I want to lead 2 mana up for Bog. Um, let's see. They don't have. I don't think we even care, to be honest, about dredgers here. I like to actually leave my Bajuga Ball activations up as long as I can. So I don't even need to activate it right away. Oof. So here's a little bit dangerous because I want a glimpse, but then that requires me to tap out. Or have Reclaimer down, and there's no way I'm going to do that against a graveyard-based deck. Okay, that's pretty good. I think here I want to still save the Cradle in hand. There's no rush with Reclaimer up. In case we draw, well, there is no more hoof, but yeah, so I guess that's fine. I could have snuck in 1 more damage, but I don't think it's super relevant. By attacking with Reclaimer and then bouncing if I want to bog. So here they have a narc amoeba. I don't think I actually even care because they don't have a therapy in the yard. I just set my stops actually on the draw step. Luke, down. The longer you Reclaimer up, the more frustrating it is for a dredge player because they want you to crack it badly. And there's just no reason to unless they have a bridge or like. So here's a second one, and again, there's no bridge, so I don't think I care. Actually, there's one bridge. There's no therapy, is what I meant to say. We can still kill the bridge actually by sacking the arbor, and then we don't use up a bog, so that's fine. I'm gonna let that Narcomoeba through too. What we're playing around here is Hogak, but they don't have it in the yard, and they need black creatures anyways, or green creatures. So the more we can eat of the graveyard, the better. So they have a second bridge now, with one therapy, and they may crack the therapy here to try to bridge, and then we can respond with sacking our arbor to kill the bridge while leaving up bog for future turns. Yeah, Reclaimer is the nightmare for dredge. Okay, so here is the line that I was referring to earlier. We don't even need to crack. We don't even need to bog them yet because we can kill the bridges by sacking an arbor. Here I'm gonna deck thin and get out my fetch. So that's a very good draw. They can Icarid back the following turn, but I'm not even sure we really care about that. Like, our clock is faster than them. Right now, the only thing we really care about is our bridges, and which we can deal with again with the arbor. I didn't want them to block my arbor here. They block the ranger, that's fine because I can bounce the Bayou in response. So here, I think what we lose to is if they have Hogak in hand and then Ikarid in play. So I think here I probably do well. Probably do want a bog here. I think. But even then, we can go wide. To be honest. Yeah. I think attacking with Ranger is fine there because we could balance it and still have Reclaimer up. I just wanted to pressure their life. I don't think it really mattered at this point because we're pretty far ahead. And Dredge losing game one, it doesn't bode well for them. Especially now we have like insane graveyard hate coming in. I don't really like Archon in this matchup because it's probably naming sorcery, and sometimes we can't race them if we name sorcery, depending on the board state. So Jack said I can wait with the bog. I think we probably can't. I was afraid. I guess I was trying to think how do we lose that game, and I think the way we lose it is if Ikarid um, comes back and then they hard cast a creature from hand. That's probably how we lose, because then they can get Hogak online. So that's what I was playing around. Luke, come on. Okay. All right. This is my dog. He's very uneasy right now. He doesn't like it when I talk on the phone or however. Good boy. So I boarded Nazis because I just want to protect Leyline. It's not as good here, but a lot of times they keep 2 mana removal in like I forgot what that white enchantment's called, but Serenity. That's right. So yeah, I'm just essentially trying to maximize my nut draw against them, and sometimes they. This is an example of a very good hand against them. Luke, come on. Sit. Sit. So my opponent may think I'm slow rolling them, but the reality is I have a dog that's down. Good boy. So essentially here, lose, sit. We lose to unless they have the nuts and can go off turn 2. I think we're probably still okay here. Lou, down. Come on. Okay, down, down, down. Wait. Good boy. Wait. Yeah, so we're just hoping that the Reclaimer gets there because I think barring a turn 2 here, I feel pretty good about this game. Typically on the draw, Reclaimer's not fast enough, but okay. But here it's almost like being the play because yeah, Leyline turn 0. It also helps when your opponent misses land drops. think here we just want to be fast, so I want to set up a possible natural order pretty soon. And also it hedges a little bit against Cabal Therapy as well, and Reclaimer pitching the Arbor is good against bridges, so I like this play better. We can actually get Leyline again on online turn 3. Wait. Yeah, I think I want to do that. Lou, down. Come on. Okay, okay. Lou, okay. Here, our shields are going to be for a turn potentially. Lou, come on. Lou, stop. But I think that's worth it. Because they can also change the Reclaimer response. So 2, 4 mana. We have 1 mana up. Lou, come on. The green sun's representing lethal next turn too. So that was pretty easy. I played it slow because sorry, I was trying to multitask with the dog. So this league went pretty well. We lost to Belcher, and I don't mind losing that deck because I know it's a bad matchup. I don't really prepare to see it anyways too. But yeah, we went 4-1. I'm down to play another league if people are interested. I don't know if people need to sleep sooner or whatnot. But I think the list felt pretty good because Leyline does what we wanted to for the really fast decks. And even though we lost to Belcher, I think it was winnable. We got to game 3 at least. Let's see. Just to review. Yeah, we beat Netfit. We beat Alurin. We lost to Belcher. We beat Bug Depths, and we beat Dredge. I guess I'll just start another league. Same list. We're playing the same Dredge player. So here, yeah, I think it's a Snap Keep on Reclaimer. They could be on another deck, but I'm assuming since we just queued into them, it's probably the same. So they are therapying me. That's fine. We're just really only scared of like really explosive turn one starts. Once we have Bog online, I think I feel pretty good. Our clock is actually kind of fast here too because with a Cradle and a Shepherd. So there's no well. We can Reclaimer's a faster clock. We get a second one online, but I think I value the speed of Shepherd because it can one shot your opponent later on, and then there's no reason to not leave 2 mana up for Bog. So one of the reasons why I really like Bog main deck is because a lot of blue decks and most decks besides Chalice decks use a graveyard some way or another, so it's rarely dead. As a sideboard card, it's still okay too, but I just think the power level is high enough where you can run it main deck and just cheese a lot of wins. It's kind of like when D&T is running Caracas, 3 Caracas main just because it protect Dahlia and then randomly hose show and tell before. Lou, it's okay. So I think in between while we're sideboarding, I'm gonna go take a quick 1 minute break to let my dog out. Well, let him roam. Yeah, so the interaction with Arbor and Reclaimer in this matchup is kind of gross. Here, I actually think the correct play is to tap the Cradle because we're more efficient this way. So now we pretty much have the win the following turn because Allosaurus Shepherd will pump all our guys. We just need to not die here, and I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah, I don't even think that matters. Well, they have bridges. Let's see. I can't tell what's the last card in the graveyard. It's an Icarid. That's fine. Here they therapy me trying to trigger the bridges. I can just bog them response. So I'm not sure why they didn't Street Wreath there because they're just dead on board now. And that way they could have activated Coliseum. That doesn't make any sense. So sometimes I'd actually forget that they can target themselves or don't pay attention. But it didn't really matter here.
Six.
What's up, Romario? How's it going, man? This is the second time you've tuned in for us. You're 2 for 2. Is Lou a good boy?
No.
It's okay, just let him be. So we're gonna board similarly to before, just we're gonna bring in the discard and the leyline package. What's up, Mitchell? How's it going, man? Forgetting something, I think. Yeah, so I just bored out the Visionary and the Warwood in this matchup. Work from home is tiring. The dog doesn't like it when I talk on the phone, so as evident here on the stream too. Other than that, it's fine. Here on the draw, Reclaimer is kind of dicey, I think, but I think we still keep. I wish I had snap keep because then they would think I want leyline. Okay, good boy. Sit. Okay. Down. Down. Good boy. Wait. He's a mini Australian Shepherd. They have a ton of energy, so that's why he's very hyper right now. He also gets really antsy when I just talk to anybody on the phone or whatnot in general. Luke, sit, wait. I'll put him up on screen in a bit. Okay. Yeah, so everybody can see the terror that is my dog. But he's still a good boy. What up, Eddie? Oh, nice. Yeah, my neighbor talks about their previous boxer before a lot. Who will sometimes watch our dog for us before COVID. Yeah. How do you like your boxer? Full size or mini? Yes, I do have a main deck bog, Nathan. It wanted me game one essentially. The reason why is I think it's good enough main deck because almost at least half the decks I think in Legacy use the graveyard anyways, and the only decks that don't are like Chalice decks, and those matchups aren't really dictated because I drew a random bog. It's like usually I lose to Chalice or whatnot. Yeah, so yeah, I think Bog tends to be too good not to play. Or like the investment for main deck is low is what I'm saying. Yeah, so this boy has a lot of energy too. So cancel. So it seems like I had the removal for the ley line anyway, so it didn't really matter. The meta, I think it's fine. Like, I think Rug Delver is probably the consensus best deck, and I think, especially solidified by the showcase. Um, and shout out to Romario, by the way. He top aided the showcase for Wednesday, and then shout out to Eddie too for top 16 with Esperval. Luke, come on. So they blind hit Green Sun, which was pretty devastating against me. Or actually, was it blind hit? I wasn't paying attention. Might not have been. Actually, they hit the Reclaimer earlier, so they knew. Luke, come on. Sit. Yeah, see? The only way I can get my dog to ever do anything to calm down is I have to incentivize him with food. This match, not sorry, this game is probably a loss, but it's okay. I can hopefully settle down my dog a little bit. We still have game 3. And I feel, good about this matchup in general because of Leyline. Sit. So they're gonna pick a lot of zombies, and I'm pretty far behind. They don't want to trade their Icarids there with a potential Arbor. I think I would have because that sets me back another land. So what's my record? This is the first match of the new league. I went 4-1 the previous league, losing to Belcher. Belcher has a habit of ruining my 5-0s actually. I don't know if I've mentioned that to anybody before. Probably not. I mean, definitely not on stream, but I know in my LGS, I just joke that yeah, the 3 Belcher players on Moto seem to play when I play. So this is just for information. I'm pretty far behind, anyways. And if it seems like I'm not paying attention to what my opponent is doing, that's kind of true because been a little sidetracked at the moment with the dog. Lou, come on. It's okay. So here we're almost dead with. They have lethal on board. I have to block the Icarid. They should be attacking. We'll see. Stop. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. Yeah, so I'll just consider. It's just the interest of time. Lou, sit. Come on. Down. Wait. Wait. Yeah, my dog Lou, LOU, is very antsy. I don't board in Caracas. I want to mention something. I don't board in Caracas for this matchup because they only have one Hogak, and I know there's a decent chance that they can get onto the field. If that's happening, you probably lost anyways. So that's why I don't sit. Don't bring in the Caracas against Dread, but I do against dedicated Hogak deck. Okay. So I'm curious how they boarded because I didn't change anything and they took a minute. No more. No more. See, no more. Blue stop. Okay, so this is a very interesting hand. It's a keep, obviously, for the lane land, but I still can hit a green source at some point. The Thoughtseize is kind of nice, but I wish I could Thoughtseize immediately to take their answer. But hopefully they have a 2-mana answer. Blue, come on. I kind of deliberated a little bit talking there, so maybe they don't think I had the leyline hand. Luke, oh, come on. Okay, sit. Sit, sit. Wait. Yeah, it's probably a 1-mana answer, but I don't think I can really give up this kind of hand with the ley line. Also, maybe they, if it's a green answer or a white answer, it's possible they kept an off-color land, like with Colosseum. But I agree, it's probably one mana answer. Yeah, Wear Tear and Whisper are pretty common. Nature's Claim before. The only thing that might have fooled them is while I was talking, I did take a little bit longer to actually keep. So they may have kept a non answer for Leyline, but we'll see. Maybe they keep a hand that tries to raise the Reclaimer. Down. Luke, all the way. Good boy. All right, later on, Mitchell. So it is interesting. They are really in the tank here. Yeah, I didn't really want to keep this hand, but I think it's good enough. Yeah, I agree, Romero. Maybe because I took a while because I was dealing with Lou. Maybe they just got blindsided by the ley liner here because thinking, oh, I'm debating whether to keep a Reclaimer. Okay, so I think the scariest card here is a Wear Tear. Lou, come on. Or Chain of Vapor is possible too, actually. We saw that from the other games. Lou, come on. Down. They do know we have Leyline. It's ooh, interesting. That I'm actually happy about. There's no way they named Thoughtseize here. And Thoughtseize is gonna take away their answer now. Sit. Down. Yeah, they got very greedy here. I don't know why they didn't. why they chose to do that. Maybe they. I guess they thought maybe I had a green sun turn too for reclaimer, but now they just lost their out for no reason. Luke, come on. Luke, stop. Okay, okay, okay. Sit. Luke, sit. Sit. So we know our hand has a thug in there. I guess it's worth taking. So they have less cards to loot. But I don't want to. Also, don't want to die to beats. Here's kind of interesting. So, do I care about the thug or the ink, the imp? I think I just. If they draw a land, I think I'm fine with it. If they want to hardcast imp, they can. That's not really what's gonna win the game. Lou, stop. Lou, stop. So we are under some pressure here, I guess. To yeah, I might lose this game because they're gonna continue to do damage. There we go. I think here we want to just double ramp, to be honest. Because natural order is lethal. My dog must be afraid of my wife because he stopped barking. Can you put this away? He keeps barking because he knows I have it. Okay, so he's on the committed to the creature plan now. But I think we should be in really good shape. So yeah, here we just play our whole hand out. I think There's a chance we can even kill this turn. So yeah, I kept a no green source hand and still got there because Leyline is that strong in these type of matches. My opponent, to be fair, also punted in my opinion. Like to tap out like that and not cast a chain of vapor. I think they would have won, to be honest. I guess we can play the next match. As I'm queuing up, I'm gonna get a little bit more water. Lou, come on. Lou, come on. Go. Oh, I did mention I was gonna show my dog on stream, so. Here he is. This is a terror that we have to live with. Woo. Ready? Go. So here we kept a 3-land hand. I mean, there's nothing special about this hand, but it's not bad. The once upon a time we were probably a visionary. Come on. Virtual Rangers is nice too because it ramps us. I typically cast Once Upon a Time without dropping a land because, okay, so Reclaimer is really good here, I think. As much as I want to take a Cradle, we already have 3 lands. And I think here we want to fetch in case we draw into, in case we want to lead with a non-Reclaimer in case we draw a fetch. Because we have 2 already. Oh, come on. Go. Okay, so they dazed the which is fine. In general, I don't play around daze because they set themselves back on mana and Elves can tempo a Delver player. I mean, the exception, obviously, if I can play around it, then that'd be fine, but... Lou, come on. I need you to be calm, buddy. Good boy. Okay, here I'm going to lead with Shepherd. The reason being is because, well, actually, I take that back. I'm going to lead with Wirewood so it can protect the uncountable Shepherd. And then I'm going to save the fetch. In case it represents an Arbor here. Lou, come on. So Arcanist is probably one of the scariest things. I think Dreadhorde Arcanist is the best creature in Legacy, in my opinion. So that's a really good draw because now we can just go off with Glimpse. And then we know it's protected too. We're hoping to hit a Heritage or a Cradle here. Oops.
What is with you?
So yeah, my opponent can see because they're too far behind on cards. Oh, yeah, I could have bounced another elf. I wasn't paying attention. Good catch there, Romero. Actually, the elf to bouncer is Quirion Ranger too because you get another untap. So it's a functional Nettle Sentinel in this case. But opponent already conceded anyways. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I just got sloppy. I can appreciate how hard it is for streamers like you, Romero, because I know I'm having a very difficult time at the moment. Dealing with this dog and trying to play at least somewhat optimally. Luckily, it doesn't matter in this case. Ready? Go! So how I board against Delver is Abrupt Decays come in. I like the Cabal Pit here because it's a tunable removal spell. I board out the Natural Orders package because, not because it's bad per se, but more so I just don't think they're necessary. Card rotation is nice too. I don't like 2 against Delver, but 1 is okay. And you just leave Archon in for something big to tutor for. You don't really need Hoof in this matchup, even though Rug has access to Oko now. Oko's in general like pretty bad, I think, against Elves. It wins them the game if they're ahead already, but pretty much, remember, you're an Elf Master now. I agree. You caught the line and I missed it. But Oko is good against Archon and only Archon in the matchup. But in my opinion, Oko's pretty bad against Elves. Like, they're gonna either grow your guy or make 3/3 tokens, which you don't really care about. There's an argument to be made for the 1 natural order, just as a Mary over the crop, but I think I just want to be as streamlined as possible and not lose to their soft permission. Okay, Luke. Okay. Sit.
Come here.
Also, this will be my last match for tonight. I'm probably gonna go to sleep too, and then make sure the dog is behaving because I think this has really riled him up. Oh, I think I didn't submit. That's why. Or maybe I did. I don't know. Yeah, I have to always adjust my graveyard size after playing against Dredge. So this is actually one of the examples where I prefer crop over the natural order because you just want to be streamlined against Delver. Because you have so much card advantage, you eventually grind them out. They have a stifle here that's really bad. Luckily they did not. Might be a Spell Piercer Daze. So you're okay with that actually because they lost 1 mana to essentially deal with your acceleration. So you're almost ahead in my opinion. we just have to hit land drops, and I think typically in fair matchups, if elves can hit land drops, they should be favored. Um, it's combo decks that I typically fear the most. Or decks that play like a combo deck against us. Like the gut shot deck is probably pretty good against elves from my experience. Queering Ranger was a good draw because it's almost like acceleration. Our hand is a little awkward, but I think it's fine. I kept it on the power of I kept it off the power of the Green Sun. I think here it's a little bit scary because we want to bog them, but at the same time, like the red source for removal is pretty backbreaking. So we'll see how it plays out. Arcanus in general is just so good against any creature-based deck because blocks are just a nightmare because of the 3 toughness. Jeez. So that's actually not the end of the world. It's just 2 for 1, but that's actually not that bad. Here is actually kind of interesting. I almost want to trade the. Yeah, I think I'm gonna trade my fetch for the Arcanist because it's gonna run away with the game anyways. Like, Arcanist is just a card, if unchecked, just runs away with the game. There's no more frustrating card, I think, from fair perspective to play against. It's like a Dark Confidant that ramps you up 1 every turn. That has a Snapcaster ability. That's, I mean, I know that's a long description, but yeah. So I think we bought ourselves at least 2 turns now. Oh, and that land off the top was huge. Yeah, if they didn't see the Arbor there and they don't have another threat, then I think we might have potentially stolen this game now. Like, we don't really care about Oko. Okay, so they likely have at least 1 force. So we'll see. This is a force check. Luke, it's okay, come on. So there's the first force. Go! Here, to play around the double days, I'm going to play out my land first. And then this is an effective draw too with Wirewood. Luke, come on. Oh, and that was a very good draw. Okay. Ready? Go. Wow, that's a really good sequence for us here. Okay, so here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bounce my Visionary and then crop in response for more mana. I don't think they have a second daze. Oh, I guess they do. Nope. Okay, so I got a network error. I wonder if that means the internet is down? Oh, it looks like it's back up. So I don't think I care about 3 damage here. If the Delver trades, we're okay with that. Because we already have an answer for the Oko. Yeah, that was a huge non-flip there for them. I think what we're afraid of here is a stifle on our fetch land, but I don't think they would keep in stifle. And then I'm okay with trading for Delver because then they don't have any pressure. That might be a Mandrills based on the way they're tapping, and that's a problem. So a reclaimer draw here would be pretty good. The reason being is it block the Mandrills pretty well. So here, it's pretty problematic, I think. Luke, come on. So here we can quad block on Mandrills, but I think that's kind of bad. Or leave us susceptible to a bolt, which is also kind of bad. Luke, come on. So they might be looking for a bolt here. We have 2 creatures to deal with, so we can block bounce and then just hope that they don't find bolt. Yeah, I think that's our best chance to win. So that's 2 mana, bounce, untap, and then we can once upon a time in response. Claimer's a turn late. We might just be dead. The problem here is the Reclaimer can flashback the Bolt, so we have to dig for removal. Okay, now we're dead. Unless they miss the Bolt line. Whoa, I just saw that Romerio's comment that Shepard's selling for $85. That's true. About the Mandrels having trample. Yeah, so we're dead. I think it's possible we don't keep that opening 7 because it had only 1 land, but I think it's fine. We were under a lot of pressure this game. And Mandrels is actually one of the few cards that's hard for us to deal with in this deck. Uh, Only because they can't decay it. Yeah, the crop. The second days on the crop was backbreaking because I think we blow the game open there. I think we could have paid for it, the Heritage Druid too, which was unfortunate. But I think we win the game if the crop resolves. I think I like the crop still. Instead of the one natural order. Also, be on the play is going to help game 3 here. Oh, nice. What deck would you pick up the Shepherds for, Romero? Would it be Elves or something else? Or just to have? So I will keep the hand if I otherwise think the hand is very good. If Once Upon a Time hits on a land. Nice. Are you gonna play a Reclaimer version or are you gonna play a Nettle version, Romario? For a Reclaimer version, you only need one. So here I lead with the weakest elf, and that's Heritage Druid. Only because it doesn't really do anything until you have 2 other elves, and the way the games play out, the beginning of the... Nice, I like that you're playing the Reclaimer version. The way it plays out is usually your opponent has removal for your first few elves. And if they don't, you're okay with it. This is actually kind of an interesting decision here. Since we have the second Cradle, I think I just play out everything. I don't want to attack too because Cradle we have more mana and it's possible they have a bad hand. So they're gonna brainstorm a response. It looks like. So here they're probably gonna bolt the Wirewood, um, and then start crashing in. We do need to draw some gas here, but I think I like our chances this game. So the crop actually looks pretty good as a natural order, unfortunately, right now. I think the dream scenario here is they try to wasteland the cradle and we can get value off the crop. But it looks like they're playing for the speed win. I highly doubt they trade here, which we kind of need them to. I should have sequenced it the other way too, so it's one less card in the yard. What's up, Eli? How's it going, man? So they did not keep a Force of Will, which tells me they probably have Force of Will in hand already. Yeah. This is brutal. I think here we have to bait out their Force of Will. The Cabal pick and maybe buy us a turn. Jeez. Yeah. Yeah, there's some argument I think there for the natural order, but didn't matter. I guess we drew. We've kind of flooded out. The dog seems to be calm now, fortunately. Let's try one more. I think I think we should have won there. I don't know if I just didn't play optimally or whatnot, but uh, I feel pretty good about the Delver matchup in general. Especially since the opponent mode 5 too, and they just seemed like they were just all in on double Delver plan. 3-2 is not bad. You got money back, Eli. So for a recap, this is the second league so far. We went 4-1 in the first league. Lost was to Belcher, but there's not really anything we can do about that. This is fine. I like Once Upon a Time because it's either creature or land. I think here, we can't glimpse for a while. So I think I take the Visionary. Actually, Visionary is a trap too because if they kill our first creature, the Cradle doesn't make mana. Yeah, I lost to an Empty of the Warrens earlier too, actually. I had the turn zero Leyline to beat Echo, but yeah, they emptied and my clock wasn't fast enough. Take out the headphones. So Marsh Flats is kind of scary because I think they may be on Reanimator. In general, it's correct to lead with creature, so Cradle actually generates more mana. Yeah, in that matchup, I just mull hard to turn zero hate, which is I don't even think Chalice is good enough because they go off on first unless you're on the play. But I mull hard to Leyline if I'm on the draw. Meddling Mage, sure. Yeah, Chalice on zero is really good, but that assumes if they're going first, that assumes you get a turn, which I don't know how often they fizzle. So they named Glimpse of Nature, which is interesting. I have a natural order, which they may force, but that's fine. They probably have force because they're not named the onboard card advantage engine. Wow. So I think they're on Esper based on what they showed. What do you think, chat? You agree? As far as I know, Melee Mage is the only. Yeah, Jack was in here earlier, and he plays Chaos. The argument where we were thinking, and Jack has cut Natural Order is maybe we don't need it anymore. The problem is I actually try to lead with four shepherds in a Chaos build as well with Reclaimer. Uh, I think the issue with that version is it's going to be really good against Delver because you don't have awkward draws, and Shepherd is just a monster against Rogue Delver or just Delver in general. But and there's too many single threats to kill because you have Wirewood, you have Reclaimer, you have Shepherd. They're all must answers, and it's just a nightmare for Delver. I think with that configuration. But I think without Natural Order, you're gonna have a hard time beating Control because uh, you don't have a lot of burst damage without Glimpse, and you're not gonna draw Glimpse every game. Um, Chaos Elsie's, yeah, kind of. It has a wombo combo kill, but yeah, it being without removal is kind of a big thing. Doesn't matter as much against Control, but the other thing is if there's a lot of Strix or Ice Fang, I just think it's very hard to get chip damage in all the way. I think Natural Order is just too important in the Control matchup. Even though I think the popular misconception is people think it's bad against Control. I think when you have Progenitus, it's pretty insane actually. Because you can win with very limited resources, which I think is a draw for me at least. Um, so this is actually kind of interesting because uh, I know they're boring wastelands, so actually I keep it in the cradles. But Cabal Pit is actually the matchup I want. Is actually the this is actually the matchup I want for Cabal Pit specifically because it's very awkward to lose to Meddling Mage and Abrupt Decay because they have a Peacekeeper out. Oops. And then in general, we don't really need to go fast because, especially since that plays right into Plague Engineer too. Oof, in general, I know people like it against Vile. I don't like answering a Flora for a Flora in a deck with a card. So that's why I don't board it in personally. So yeah, so Goblin players, I don't board in, I don't keep Oof in against you, in case you were curious. I don't think it's great. And I think the rest is fine. Yeah, I don't think other elf players are bringing it or keeping Oof into to try to cheese one off Vile. It seems kind of loose to me. If it's something, if it's a deck like Eldrazi where I know they have like Ballista or like Ratchet Bomb, I think it's fine against those Chalice decks, but it's really for combo. Most players you see leave and break. Yeah, I think other people do it, but I personally don't like answering like a four of with answering four ofs in a deck or just four copies of a card because it seems kind of narrow to me. This is fine. The reason being is I think you lose more games that way than you win. Yeah, I know Eli likes Mindbreak Trap, but I personally don't. Lou, it's okay. Come on. Oh, jeez. Progenitus never fails to. Lou, it's okay. Okay. It never fails to be right, man. Lou, okay. Yeah, that's true. People don't play around trap at all, including myself. Actually, I do sometimes. Okay, so here's the meddling mage that we were talking about, and we'll see if they're trying to cheese a win here. Okay, Luke, ready? Go. Oh man, my hand is very awkward. Yeah, the hand started okay, and then I just drew two more bad cards. This is another reason why I entertained the idea of cutting natural order. By the way, you have hands like this. But another reason why I don't want to cut natural order is because it's one of the ways we beat engineer. Sure. I would consider what is it called? Rotating the forest for a cradle, but that's very greedy. I think. I think we just want to deck thin here. Yeah, see, you lose if they have a swords. Debating whether to fetch. I don't think I want. I think I just want to hit land drops here. So. So reclaimers, we're gonna get closer to the threshold. For the Cabal Pit to be online later on. But this hand is pretty bad. Fortunately, we're not under a ton of pressure. We'll see if they force this. Seems like they're thinking about it. So sometimes when there's nothing untapped, I'm always tempted to untap my opponent's creatures. I don't know if it tilts them or not or whatnot, or if it's bad manners, but it's just something I think about because the times where it matters is if they have a phantasmal image out of Merfolk. So the problem is our natural orders are pretty bad at the moment. Yeah, we have essentially three dead cards in our hand. I've gone out of worse, so I think it's possible. We're not under. The good thing is we're not under a ton of pressure. We do need to draw visionaries pretty soon. I've actually have never done that, only because I don't think it's great. The old. So they had two cards in hand. They brainstormed last turn and didn't put a land. I mean, there's a chance it's force and plus pitch. So we have three, four, five. We can pass turn. I think our out is if we draw the cavern, that'd be nice. So they don't have force if they're activating Val there. Well, it could be engineer, but there's nothing we can do about that. Okay, so here I think we activate the. Hmm. Yeah, I think we decay here just in case they want to do anything. We decay here to play around the flicker wisp because the soul hoarder can reset the meddling mage and the strix, so you have to kill it regardless. Oh, nice! That's awesome. Congrats. How'd you beat the wish? So they don't have force because I think they would have kept force unless they had a second blue card. If they tap out here, that's pretty good for us too. You like Yu-Gi-Oh better. Yeah, our hand is not looking too great from a Magic perspective. Could be a Yu-Gi-Oh hand. It'd be great against Show and Tell right now. Oh, that's really bad. Yup. That's nice. So here we have to kill the engineer, and yeah, we. Hmm. This is kind of problematic because we don't have the mana to. What we do, I guess. We can get a reclaimer and block as well. Yep, Singlang is definitely a very sick card. So they couldn't kill you with the Emrakul trigger? Let's see. A ringleader punish. Hit a gem palm. Oh, nice. That's funny. So they take Vow to 4, so they could have Jailer. That, or they just want to preemptively tick up. Lou, it's okay. Come on. Lou, what's going on? Lou, okay. Okay. Good boy. So I think we need to fade removal in the next few turns because the path to victory, in my opinion, is Reclaimer for a Cavern and then have enough mana to attack with everybody. I think it's probably we have one turn, I think, or 2 turns, I should say, before we can get that online. It looks like they're hitting blanks though, which helps. Here's an interesting decision because I don't want to fail with a 3, so I have to rotate this. Lou, okay. Oh, freak. So I guess I might as well get the cavern now because I already accidentally fetched it. With the reclaimer. Lou, okay. It does make Cradle live draw here though. 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm still short. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this. My dog is not the biggest fan of me talking in general. Okay, no more. Okay, down. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. Okay, down. Yeah, he does not like using a telecon either. So my opponent's team, I gave it away that I had a hoof in hand because I accidentally clicked on the Bayou. Okay. Okay. I should did the there. Okay. Okay. So now I have to rotate for Bayou because I need to pay the melee. Okay. Here, this is the culprit for all the barking right now. So they might have a force and want to hardcast it, so that's. I don't think I can get a force here, anyways, because. Come on. Ah. Luke, come on. So I have enough blockers. Sorry, chat. My dog is kind of crazy right now. It's been crazy all night, to be fair. Down. Okay, sit. What's up? How's it going, Patrick? So I'm wrapping up. This might be the last match, but I'm glad you can tune in, dude. Oh. I won game 1, lost game 2. Well, I'm losing game 2, and so we'll see about game 3. Yeah, I know. 10 people. I'm pretty happy about that, to be honest. So they probably have force, and I'm dead regardless, but I have to try. Wow, that's actually a very good draw. Let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. If I get a Sword Shepherd here, then I can force the Crater Hoof through. The problem is they probably force the Green Sun. I lose anyways. Actually, no. The melee mage is still on the hoof, so we're dead. Luke, come on. Yeah, I don't think there's an out. Oh, actually, that's not true. The green sun can hit a visionary, and then we have a decay. They may force this. Okay, we're still alive. Running out of time though. Fortunately, now we have to spend our Bayou here to cast a Visionary. And I think we don't have any outs after that. Yeah. So we can just concede. I think if our hand wasn't so awkward, we'd probably win this game, to be honest. That's part of the problem with Progenitus. I think the dog is finally tired. He's falling asleep. So we're on the play of this game, and I think I feel decent about that. We can't keep here this hand because of removal. Ugh, that's not much better. What's up, Francisco? How's it going, man? Doing good. The dog is kind of crazy right now, but I think he's calmed down. We're in game 3 against Esperville, but we already mowed a 6, and this 6 looks pretty bad, so it's the 5. Nice run, by the way, on the Esperville on Sunday. I saw you did pretty well. At least our opponent mulled as well, so it's not all doom and gloom. Yeah, our list. I showed it earlier, but I play. This is to protect against Wasteland, but I think 1 is the best number in a Reclaimer build. And the reason being is because uh, it's a really strong card, but the problem is it doesn't really help the bad matchups. The only thing it really helps against is Chalice decks, but Counterspell dot deck is not really the problem for Elves. Oh shoot! I just misplayed. Yeah, I was supposed to lead with a Birch Lord here, um, so I can play the Reclaimer as well, but now I can't. It's probably still okay, I think. It does make our glimpse a little better if we top deck that. So, but yeah, I should have played Birch Lore into the Reclaimer so that there's more mana in the next turn. Because I want this to be a Arbor. The good thing is I don't think it really matters. Yeah, I think Chalice has kind of disappeared because it's not particularly great against Hootie Mandrills. Um, also, I heard from a good friend of mine, Max Gilmore, that Chalice in general isn't as good as it used to be because a lot of the decks that um, it's supposed to beat, the, those decks can beat Chalice now. And Shepherd doesn't help too. Yeah, exactly. Less good against Delver. So that's the respect that they're giving for the Cabal pit that they've seen, I think. So we almost got lucky here because we actually drew the Climps. Three. We do this while they're tapped out. We get the Progenitus. So now, the reason why you get Progenitus is to hedge against a sweeper, like a Plague Engineer. So they have to now get Peacekeeper, which we have many outs to. Yeah, Chalice when Chalice out of Goblins, I think could be okay because um, people aren't really playing around it anyways, or they can't afford to. But I just heard Chalice decks aren't very good at the moment. Oko is a big reason, as mentioned. I'm not sure what they kept, but our five has a Progenitus at the moment, so maybe they kept an Engineer hand or Recruiter hand. Yeah, so I like to joke that this is the desperate cantripping now, or the Hail Mary cantripping. There's an argument to wait on my previous turn to wait another turn before you glimpse because you only have one creature in hand. But the fact that we had natural order backing it up, I think you want to go that turn when they're tapped out. Um, my personal opinion is, in general, when in doubt, go with whatever's more proactive. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Chalice isn't the bomb it once was. So this might be. It seems like they may have not drawn a fetch because they're using Charming Prince essentially as a fetch for their brainstorm. So their hand must be kind of awkward. I think I still want to play the fetch here. We don't need to conceal it. They either have the Peacekeeper or they don't. And it might be an awkward scenario where they have a recruiter and they don't have a land drop to do both in the same turn. Strix. Yep. So now I think they're all in on trying to top deck the recruiter now. I mean the Peacekeeper now. I think it's likely they had a recruiter in hand. Sure. Okay, so they're buying themselves an extra turn. The thing is, they don't. Well, actually, that's not true. Hmm. Four, five, six, seven. So here, they can't even force. So we can just get hoof. This should be game. Yeah, I think we moto five, but the five was very good. Yeah, exactly. They can't force because Progenis is 10. Thanks, Francisco. It's actually I did mess up a few times earlier on stream. I don't want to blame the dog or anything. Part of it was my own. I just was on a little bit of autopilot, but I think the deck rewards for tight play. Um, I know some of you may have missed earlier, so I want to go over like some of the deck choices. I think the one thing about elves that, in my opinion, the way it should be built is it's very good. I think against fair blue in general. I did lose a match to Delver, but in yeah, I agree. And I think it's pretty crazy, Francisco, that you streamed the whole showcase last time. And hey, props to you. I'm glad that video is available to have because I think I enjoyed watching it from my side and then just your commentary in general too. Yeah, yeah, I can't blame the dog. Otherwise, people are gonna be up in arms. But hopefully next stream he'll be more behaved. Yeah, so going back to elves, I think the way I like building the deck is to be good main deck against fair blue. And I think the nice thing is similar to when Death Right was legal, Elvish Reclaimer is actually combo hate that we can play that fits in with the deck. I mean, it's not as clean as Death Right because Death Right was a mana dork. And Reclaimer, the first few turns of the game, doesn't really do much. It blocks a Goblin Lackey well, or if you know they're on a graveyard deck, you can threaten Bog immediately. But in general, it's not particularly great. But its end game is far stronger though than Deathrite was, only because you can get Cradle, and I think that probably supersedes the drain ability of Deathrite. Um, I know that may sound blasphemous, but and don't get me wrong, I think Deathrite's still the better card. But Reclaimer, I think, fills the void that Deathrite left when Deathrite got banned. Once Upon a Time, I think, is really strong. I want to play the full four copies. The reason why I don't is because you don't really want to draw two. And Elves thrives on early tempo because if you can go turn one Green Sun, turn two Glimpse. No Sentinels. So I know Jack is a big fan of Sentinels, and so is Nathan Lipitz. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it correctly. I just don't think it's needed. If you play tight, and granted, that's not always going to be the case, regardless of who you are and how many years you play the deck. But in theory, if you play tight, I don't think you need Netto to finish your Glimpse chain. It makes it easier and you can autopilot. But the problem with Netto is it doesn't really do anything if you don't have a Heritage or a Burst Lore out. And even then, the way it plays is, especially post board, you it doesn't really do anything by itself, and it almost enables you or misleads you down the road of playing into sweepers. And that's part of the reason why I cut the deck because I just think we needed to find room for Reclaimer because I think it does too much for the deck. And Netto was the only card because it's kind of a beater as well as a 2/2 that for one, right? It's a beater that doesn't really make mana on its own, and if you were gonna add a card like Reclaimer, which doesn't make mana on its own either, I think you can't really mess with the mana production of the deck too much because that's how you lose games, in my opinion. We lost to Rug Delver earlier because we couldn't get off the ground with mana. Also, we lose games to combo, but then that's why I think the sideboard here we have for Leyline of the Void for anybody playing Reanimator. Essentially, you can beat Dredge without Leyline, but it definitely helps. Thoughtseize is really strong in my opinion, and almost a it's arguably the most important card in the deck because it's a card we can bring in against control that is also combo hate, and that's a very unique role. Previously, I know people played things like choke. I think if you realistically want to have a solid game against combo, we just can't afford to play things like choke anymore. Um, and that's just my personal opinion because I think the joke is no matter how much you think your good matchup is good against Delver, it's not as good as you think. So I think that's why we still need the decays. Even the Cabal Pit is like somewhat respect for Delver because it's a tutorable piece of removal that's really meant for the Esper Vile deck, but helps against Delver as well. And then Crop Rotation I think is nice because it's another cradle for combo matchups that's can find your hate piece in Karakas and Bog. And then Progenitus to beat the Plague Engineer decks. I think that's mostly it. I think pretty straightforward. Yeah, no nettles. I think the other question I get asked a lot about is why 3-3 Heritage Birchlore split instead of 4-2 Heritage. It's because Heritage is kind of bad. It's more efficient than Birchlore, but Birchlore makes mana with two elves in play, one including itself. And Heritage, it's just poor sequencing because your opponent knows when they need to remove it. So they're under actually less pressure than a Birchlore, which needs to be answered immediately because you can generate the mana immediately, if that makes sense. So turn two, uh, let's just say they bowl your turn one play or swords it. You play another elf, another Birchlore, and then you can make a mana for a third elf immediately. So that's a lot of tempo. And not only that, it's better for sequencing than a Landlord elf because you can lead with an elf that you don't care about, and they have to kill it. So if you have multiples of one, that's the one you lead with. Whereas with the case of a Landlord elf, you have to lead with Landlord, and sometimes it's awkward. Uh, let's see, Collector Oof, just for the tests and all the artifact like Mystic Forge slash Echo decks. It's not good enough in my opinion in the sideboard anymore because you just want the strongest hate possible. But I like it in the main deck because it's just another way to cheese a win, and I think most people like to free wins. Um, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, only one Allosaurus Shepherd. I think one is a must because it's very good against Chalice, and it makes all your Green Suns then is essentially a discard spell almost, or a hymn if you want to think about it because it represents force plus pitch, right? Um, and this has come up a few times, but sometimes your hoof gets countered or discarded. You need another way to win too. And I've gone to weird scenarios before where I couldn't win because hoof got discarded. And I think Allosaurus Shepherd solves that very narrow problem for whatever it's worth. And then I had a game earlier against Depths too that I couldn't hoof that turn for lethal, and against Depths, they have a lot of discard. So Allosaurus Shepherd's good too because you can proactively Green Sun for it, which I did, and then I just swung for 20 the next turn with the pump ability. So I think that's pretty much it. Any questions? I'm gonna try to do this every Tuesday um, in the future. So hopefully you guys will be back. That's not for sure yet, but tentatively, I'll try to do the same day every week to stream, just for the community. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Any questions? Thanks to everybody for coming in. By the way, I appreciate the support. It's definitely humbling.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna sign off now. Until next time, I'll see you guys, man.